Yo guys, welcome to the video. This is Josh or Milky, and in today's video, we're going to be venturing on to T17 maps. Now, I'm not done with T16s, but I'm going to try some T17s today. I wanted to try out this new Divinity Scarab. You can see up to 2 additional rare monsters in the area will be Pantheon Touch. What that means is they're going to have additional modifiers on the mob that cause the loot conversions. It can be things like fractured items, currency, all that kind of stuff. But the main thing is that they have a lot more modifiers and they drop a lot more loot. Now, the Pantheons do also deal damage. You know, when you see Innocents and stuff in your map, that's that. You see Arakali firing her Chaos Balls, that's what you're seeing. So I wanted to try this out. We're using 2 of them, and it seemed appropriate to use it with the Adversaries Scarab, as this causes the map to contain additional 4 packs with mirrored rares. So hopefully we get our Divinity effect on that mirrored rare. Now, this isn't where the rare scaling ends. We also have Nemesis, which causes rare monsters in the area to have 2 additional modifiers. So we've got a lot of rares in our map. We're causing them to drop a lot of loot, and they've got more modifiers. What can we do with that? And of course, the answer with T17s, as it often is to drop additional Scarabs. You can see this node right here. Amplified Artifacts causes rare monsters in your map to have 50% increased chance to drop Scarabs per monster modifier affecting them. So we can expect to see a lot of Scarab explosions, and Scarabs, of course, are very valuable, especially if you're looking at things like Ambush Scarabs or Cartography Scarabs or Harbinger Scarabs, things that I've spoken about on the channel. Ambush Strat my sheep, but a lot of people are doing that in T17. It's the hot thing right now. So the Scarabs are very expensive. Rusteds alone are going for 10C each. So very, very valuable. I also combined it with Beyond just to get some more juice in the map. We can use it on the map device as our map device craft is available. So we've got Beyond, and then I'm using the Eater of World altars. If you don't like these, you can use red. It is what it is. You get more quant on these, obviously, but adding those player modifiers to your character in T17 maps can make them very, very difficult, even though they already are obviously extremely difficult. I'm assuming if you're in T17s doing this, you're able to deal with the map. So let's talk about the map next. How are we going to roll these things? They are frustrating to roll. I'll be the first to admit that. Don't worry about it. I hate rolling them too, but I found a reasonably good way. First of all, we have this regex that I have right here. This will be in the description. And what this is going to do is it's going to tell me whether or not the map has a 100% or more modifier for either Scarabs or currency. So you'll see if I take this regex, copy it, put it down in this search bar, I can click my Chaos Orbs on this map until it shows up, and there it is. So I would do this on a bunch of maps. I'd then grab my actual regex. I know it's cringe using 2 regex. It is what it is. And you see this one was actually a fail, so we have to go back. Now, I do have one prepared. You would obviously do this for multiple maps. It's not as cringe and annoying as doing it for one. Obviously, if I sat and did it on one, it would look awful. But if you're doing it for multiple, you're going to end up with plenty rolled. Now, I have also been applying a Delirium Orb to these. The Delirium Orb can be any of your choosing. You can go with the cheapest one. The Delirium is just to add the quantity to the map. So you can see this is the one that I've got. I'll show you a nice one. This is just like one that I had left. A lot of Scarabs. Yeah, this is much higher than you would normally get. And I had a rule that if I hit 153% or 150% or more Scarabs, I would apply Scarab chisels, and I hit 7 of those in 50 maps. So this map here isn't going to count towards the profits. This is just one to show you guys. To give you an idea, right? I am going to drop more Scarabs than typical in this map because I thought I'd show you a cool one. I'm not trying to gas up the strat or anything. So let's go into the map. I'm going to show you the whole thing. T17s, you know, obviously take a little chunk of time. A lot of people have been asking me about my build. You can loot by as you go, by the way. But you can also just loot afterwards. It's kind of up to you. But you can see, look at the number of Scarabs dropping. It's insane. If we press tab, we have 458% more Scarabs in this map. So if you're able to do this and you get one of these maps, you're going to be loving life, making a lot of Divines and Scarabs and all that stuff. Lovely stuff. So anyway, people have been asking me about my build. I don't really share my builds except for very specific times when I'm very confident in what I've done. Because, I don't know, I feel like the kind of way people are with builds, it's just not for me, and especially when I wouldn't categorize myself as much of a builder. I'm not the best at it. I make mistakes. I know that there are errors with my pobs. I'm kind of happy with that. But with that being said, since a lot of people are obviously asking for it, I will leave my path of building in the description. But please, if you use it, you know, just take a look at it, because obviously I've tried to make it. I don't want to play a bad build, so I obviously try and do my best. But you know, if you use it, just be careful. So anyway, let's look at the map. Obviously, I've got a headhunter on. It's going to make it much easier. Contrary to most of the strats I've done right now, I feel like if you're watching at this point, you're probably at a bit of a later stage of progression. Obviously, we've only been doing the T16 maps. These maps are going to be much harder to run, especially if your build can't do a lot of the affixes. So do bear that in mind. I do realize I'm talking to a different audience, most likely here. So you're just going to blast through this map. Obviously, my character's very good. I can just smack the boss and wait for all the loot to drop. These fragments do make up a decent chunk of the currency that you're going to make. I'll talk about more of that when we get to the spreadsheet at the end. But definitely want to be waiting around for those. You don't have to do Fortress either. It's just the one that I chose to. I didn't drop a single yoke. So I paid the, the upscaled price on Fortress for the chance of dropping a yoke and never got one. So the results will look a little bit worse because I did have to pay more for the maps. But it is what it is. So I think we'll leave it there. Maybe if I get some cool explosions, I'll add them in at the end. But other than that, we'll jump on into the next part of the video. So that was the entire map, and there is my inventory afterwards. Obviously, this is very hard to compute as you're looking at it this way. But I mean, initially we have 7 ambush scarabs, and these are, as you can see, 14 to a divine. So we already got half a divine's worth of ambush scarabs. We obviously have the ultimatum scarab of catalyzing that dropped at the end. It's almost a divine. You see, it all starts to add up. So one thing you should be very conscious of if you're doing this is you are going to have to be able to sell in bulk or be willing to sell all of your scarabs individually. What is the difference between doing those two things, you may ask? If you sell in bulk, you're going to get a much diminished rate. If we come on over to the wealthy Exile and we go to the Scarabs, you'll see that this tab is valued at 79 divine orbs. That's adding the cluster to 81 divine orbs. That is how much it goes if you were to sell everything at the market rate, but the market rate for these Scarabs is typically undervalued slightly, especially if you sell something like TFT. It's going to be, you're going to have to do it at a fraction. So selling them individually is going to be more money, but that time you spend selling Scarabs would oftentimes be better spent in another map or in another 10 maps with how long it could take to sell these. So I am often an advocate of bulk selling, as all the results that I'm going to show are based on the wholesale bulk price that you could get if you were to sell all these Scarabs to whichever Scarab Lord you choose. That's how it goes. So I got pretty lucky with the Brothers gift drop, not including that. I actually dropped 2 from like blue altars. Bear in mind that is a possibility if you're running this. You're obviously going to get blue altars that are going to drop a lot of cards. We've got a lot of pack size. The blue altars are going to pop off. And then the rest of the loot was pretty whatever. It was just all Scarabs, baby. All Scarabs all the way down, except for obviously the fragments, which accounted for about 20 divines. We can take out the Valdos, that's 2, and some other miscellaneous stuff. But a lot of very easy to sell, good fragment loot. And we have the better ones, things like reality fragments and devouring fragments that we didn't get many of, but it is what it is. We actually got like 21 of the others and then 4 and 5 of these. I'm assuming they're weighted. I haven't really looked too much into this, but that's the loot in this form. And then on the table itself, let's look at the investment. So the map itself was the fortress map. This was wrong, actually. It was 80C per. Managed to get 54. And then the Divinity Scarab, which was 1.5C each. This is kind of what I wanted to go with here. Cheap Scarabs. Try out these new ones. 1.5C each for the Divinities. 1.5C each for the Adversaries. The cost for me to roll my maps, I bought 800 Chaos to do this. And then I had 263 left. So that was 537 Chaos for me to roll all the maps. And then beyond on the map device, and the Nemesis Scarab was 3C each. And then when I had the Scarab chisels, as I said, it was 7 maps that I could use them on. So it was 4 times 7, 28, and they're 20C each, or 560 for those. So you are going to need an initial investment if you were to like plow through 50 of these maps, right? The initial investment was 37.4 divine. So if you've got this to spare, I'm assuming if you can run T17s pretty regularly, you're going to have a bit of money flowing around. You could invest in a strategy like this. I did try to keep the Scarabs on the minimal side. If you don't want to go for something like the ambush strat, there are many, many ways to farm Scarabs in T17. This is merely the tip of the iceberg, and I will be doing a lot more of them as we go, as I bounce around between different strategies. But the entire Wealthy Excellence tab, wealthy exile tab, sorry, with all the lucky drops removed, was 118 divine orbs. This is without including any bulk prices for scarabs, which is very, very nice, which netted me about 17.9 divines in returns, pure profit per hour if I was to sell them. And that is the breakdown, right? You see boss fragments with 15% loot, scarabs a whopping 70%. And I do think you could obviously go harder on the rolling of the maps. To go for a higher percent scarab roll, you could juice this to the moon and go as high as you wanted on that, and really just use scarab chisels and every map. Maybe these scarabs aren't the best though. The Divinity and Adversaries is probably a better way to use those juicy maps, but this is a kind of like a low maintenance roll your map with the regex I showed you and just go with these scarabs is pretty good. I'm even running the currency map, so a lot of the maps I ran didn't even have 100% scarabs. It was just 100% currency. So very low maintenance. Obviously, you have to roll the maps initially, which cost me 500C, but it didn't take too long. And yeah, the returns speak for themselves. As you can see, 1.61 divines profit per map is absurd. We all know how absurd T17s are. You don't need me specifically to tell you, but I wanted to get some T17 content out there. As you know, I'm going to be playing PoE a lot this league, so let's start the T17 strategies. They're not going anywhere. This was the first one. It was very fun to try out this new Scarab. The strat was very fun. I hope you have fun if you try T17s and you do this strategy. Hopefully the Scarabs don't go up. I don't see them doing so because they're very, very common. So this one's going to be good forever. Have a good one. Bye-bye.